Welcome back to Green Disruptors, Scaling the Future, the show where we spotlight innovators tackling today's most urgent environmental challenges with bold, scalable solutions. Today, I'm joined by Ed Perryman, CEO and co-founder of Replacer, a UK-based startup that's rethinking how hospitality businesses take climate action, not just by measuring impact, but by making it easy to act today. If you've ever wondered how hospitality businesses can ditch single-use plastics and actually save money doing it, you're going to want to stick around.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Green Disruptors. Today, I'm excited to have Ed Perryman on with me today. He is the CEO and co-founder of Replacer, which is a cool new startup. Hey, Ed, how's it going?
Hey Megan, I'm really well, thank you. Thanks for having me as well. How are you?
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm doing great. So tell us about yourself a little more and about Replacer.
Sure, will do. So I'm Ed Perryman, CEO and one of three co-founders at Replacer. We are an early stage startup based primarily out of the UK, and we're building some really action-focused sustainability software for businesses. So in simplest terms, Replacer.com is where businesses, particularly hospitality businesses like hotels, restaurants, etc., go to discover what we call eco actions that they can be getting on with from today. And crucially, it's also where they go to connect with suppliers of circular and sustainable products and services.
So instead of just saying, here's all the things you're doing wrong and being wasteful, you actually then lead them to a provider that can help with the solution.
Yeah, that's really at the core of it. I mean, we feel like the market is really well served in terms of reporting and measurement tools. It's obviously really important, right? But there's lots of great platforms and software out there. But what we really want to do is inspire action. So it's kind of three main things. One is, what are the alternatives to business as usual? So what are the things that I can just be getting on with today? Second of all, how do the numbers stack up, right? Is this gonna cost me money? Are there savings to be had? And what's the impact going to be? And then finally, who are the providers of these kind of alternative ways of doing things that I feel like I can trust and that other businesses have successfully partnered with?
Okay, that's great. I imagine it can be pretty tricky because hospitality businesses often operate on pretty thin margins. So this, an investment into something more sustainable is probably a pretty big leap for a lot of these businesses.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that's where we talk a lot about sort of trying to do some demystifying because we feel like there are
Mm.
some misconceptions here. I mean, we find that most hospitality businesses absolutely want to do the right thing. But as you say, there's competing priorities, numbers are tight, and there is often this perception that of sustainability actions are always going to be a cost. And I think there's a few things there. So we focus particularly on tackling disposable and single-use waste. That's kind of our initial focus. And in that particular area, if you're actually moving towards reuse and like genuine circular models rather than switching materials, we find that in over half the cases, there are actually cost savings to be had. Over 50% of the solutions on our platform bring a cost saving around within a year. And I think that's not a commonly known thing that those opportunities are out there. So for us, it's getting that information out there and making it easy for people to do the maths.
Yeah. Can you give me like a concrete example? Like maybe a single product at a single place?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a really kind of simple one, but that could be fairly big in financial terms. I mean, if you think about the dreaded single-use water bottles, right? We've got billions of those, and people often think that businesses have kind of dealt with them, but they're still being dished out left, right, and center around the world. So if you were a hotel providing those for free, even if you were buying them in at a low cost and then providing them for free, and you were to switch to, let's say, smart water dispensers around the premises, with reusable products alongside that, like bottles and refill stations, everything else. There'll be significant cost savings from doing that, as well as the fact that you're going to eliminate thousands of water bottles from your waste stream. There's um
That's
there's lots of examples like that, and we find that often the biggest savings come when you're not just switching out material, right? So often people think in terms of, okay, I'm going to go from plastic to compostable or something that's slightly
right.
better. And often the biggest financial rewards can come actually if you're really embracing a completely different way to do things. So moving towards like a reuse type system. Those can often feel a bit scary for businesses though, because it
Yeah.
implies a different customer behavior, right? It's kind of, well, how are my guests going to respond if they have to go and do this particular thing or do it themselves? And that's where, again, more information is needed. People need to see what's another business that looks like mine that's done it and it worked.
And let's see that they didn't lose all their customers and they didn't lose all their money. And then we can
Yeah.
all just embrace change and be okay with it instead of it being so scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, let's be honest, there's examples of various types of initiatives that haven't been successful, right? And we're okay
Hmm.
to get that information out
Sure.
there as well. What we do want to create is a kind of hub where businesses are having these conversations, interacting with suppliers, posting as a community around what's worked for them, but also what they've struggled with, what didn't work with their staff or their guests. So it's not pretending that everything's going to work out, but it's saying let's demystify and get the information out there.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me, I mean, you have two other co-founders. How did you all get into this? Like what's your background that has led you to this big project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we're myself, Dom, and Ashil, my co-founders. We're three kind of mid-career professionals, I guess I would say. And we've been kicking around for a while, working for different startups and scale-ups. And it's interesting because one of us has got slightly more experience. One of my other co-founders in circular economy and hospitality.
Hmm.
But as a team of three, I guess you could almost call us outsiders. My background was working in ed tech companies, building out sales teams and commercial operations. Another co-founder has spent, over 20 years as a UX designer and a product lead, building all kinds of different software. But we met doing a project for an NGO working on plastic pollution. And what really united us was this sense that we'd hit a point in our careers where there was something we really wanted to go and tackle, and that was the worsening pollution crisis. We're creating millions, well, globally, billions of tons of waste. It's only getting worse. And I think we just feel like there's for all the goodwill out there, there's a lot of reporting, measurement and talk and some action, but not enough. And we wanted to
Yeah.
come in almost as outsiders and see if we could put some of our quite different skills to the test and build something interesting that helps businesses.
So, I mean, are you seeing this firsthand where you live? I remember you had a pretty cool post on your LinkedIn that was you like on a walk with your dog, just picking up all the garbage that you found.
Thank you. Yeah, my dog is an ace litter picker.
I love that.
Yeah, and look, I think sometimes it is those day-to-day scenarios that just keep it really real for all of us. And of course, this is not all being produced by businesses.
Hmm.
Um, there's a global problem among households, businesses, etc. But I think the common thread through it is that we're producing too much, and at a design level, too much is being produced to be disposed of and designed to be disposed of. And I think what we're really inspired by are all of the startups and bigger companies now out there who are coming up with some really innovative solutions, and we're partnering with lots of them, and some of them can already be found on replacer.com. Shameless plug there.
That's what this is for.
Yeah, that's fine. But we were inspired by them and actually felt that lots of them still need, championing, because there's lots of people out there that are coming up with great products and services that actually mean less stuff and less waste overall. So yeah, but I think all of us, and I don't know if you feel the same, but you have those kind of day-to-day activities when we're not working, where it's just, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I swear there's been a couple transformative moments, but I lived in Taiwan when I was younger, and their population is just a lot bigger than where I live. And we did like a trash cleanup there, and it was unbelievable how much stuff we found in what was supposed to be like a nature area. And yeah, now I have kids, and so it's like that makes you think about the world so differently. But anyway, so you only started last year. So where are you at in terms of, being a new startup, and like what are the next steps to
Yeah.
broaden your impact and scale?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the first version of our product, our platform out there, which is a really important milestone. And it took us about 7 or 8 months to get to that stage. And we were really lucky to have around about 10 to 15 businesses, mainly hotels, that were really supportive of what we were doing and came on that discovery journey with us to actually help
Oh,
us
that's
build the
great.
products, not just a couple of user testing calls, but really partnering with us to make sure it worked for them.
When they could tell you what their main problems were and like what they wanted to see in a solution.
Exactly. Yeah, and giving us really, really honest feedback as to kind of what wasn't useful or what wasn't working. So, yeah, we've got our first users who are mainly hotels, but over the months ahead, we hope to reach hundreds of users, and for that gradually to broaden out into other areas that are tackling similar types of waste. So, if you think about the events industry, again, from food and drinks packaging to cleaning products, or other areas that use like amenities, those types of things. There's a lot of crossover. Um, Restaurants, universities. So we think we can reach a lot of different verticals. We've onboarded now dozens of these suppliers of kind of sustainable alternatives, and we're really, really thankful to their sort of trust and partnership early on. And we want to make sure that we get to representing sort of hundreds of them as well. So yeah, that's where we are. We're still just a team of three, so
Wow.
there's a hell of a lot to do and competing
I am
priorities.
sure.
We do have other people working with us on a more flexible basis, but yeah, I guess the next stage of our kind of trajectory will be how do we grow out the team to make more impact.
Yeah. So, how are you finding these new businesses right now? Is it mostly just networking and referral based at this point, or do you have any systems that you're setting up?
Yeah, so in terms of reaching new users, the main way we're finding them, yeah, first of all, we've got sort of several people on our journey who are well connected in the space, who are, very supportive of what we're doing. And, as a startup, you're really dependent on those early referrals.
Yes.
But we're going to announce soon a couple of strategic partnerships with kind of industry bodies who are happy to recommend our tool to their members. I think that's a key route to market for us to be able to go kind of far and wide quite quickly. The other route, we talk about this a lot without getting too technical, but we're in an interesting time at the moment where I think SEO and people finding you via Google is still relevant. I think sort of LLMs and AI hasn't completely changed that yet, but things are sort of changing, and we're conscious that actually building our own movement. We talk about this a lot, not just a brand, but a movement, and using relevant, social media channels to actually capture that is potentially going to be the biggest way we get people on board.
Yeah, because it seems like it's a it's a common sense sell. So if you can get that emotional buy-in first based on if you can find those people who even want to care, even if they haven't fully taken action yet, that seems like a good strategy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah. I had another question and then I just forgot. So give me a second here.
No worries.
Uh, oh wow. This usually doesn't happen to me. It like gets worse the more you try to think about it.
That's fine. I can always build on the previous point if that helps.
Maybe you should. Then I'll remember when you're talking.
No, no worries. But yeah, that's in terms of reaching users, that's that side of it. But as I said at the start, we really, really want to be seen as um, the people doing more to champion these suppliers of alternative products and services than anyone else. Uh, and we feel that they don't really have a sort of go-to marketing channel, because if
Mm,
you're one of those businesses, you can do in-house marketing, and that can span all sorts of like digital paid work. Obviously, you can do lots of direct selling and outreach, and they all do lots of that. But I think those businesses face a little bit of a challenge because, again, if you're a hotel or a restaurant, often if you're looking at those companies and their own marketing materials, there's still sometimes that skepticism, right? It's like,
hmm.
can I really trust this solution? Is it going to work? Is it viable? And there isn't at the moment a sort of go-to platform where other businesses are validating, yes, we've tried these people, we've
This
worked with
works.
them.
This is how much money we saved. This is what our customers said. Yeah.
Exactly, kind of in this, not in the same way, but in a similar sort of way to like a trust pilot might validate a certain sort of business, that kind of thing. So we feel that if we can really be their biggest champions and give them a space where everybody's talking about them, then actually there should be a sort of virtuous circle where the more we become the more we work with them, the more they'll be able to kind of refer people to us as well. That's the hope.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way of doing business is you're providing value on multiple fronts to all along the chain, which is great. I do
Yeah.
remember my question from before.
You got
So
it.
since you're focused on hotels right now, and like, is there a specific strategy of you're going to do restaurants next and then after that, or are you going to like try to go broad quicker?
You're really hitting the perfect question, like hitting the nail on the head, because it's what we're spending all of our time thinking about, right? It's,
Yeah.
what do we do next? I think the first, perhaps obvious thing to say is we really do want to solve the problem for our ideal customer profile first. I think it's so tempting early on to have other
Anyone could
business
use
type.
this.
Yeah, anyone can use this. And of course, because we're building it, we get excited and want
Of
them to as
course.
well. But I think we're very keen not to have that kind of product creep too early. So what we have to
Smart.
do is simultaneously stay very focused on solving the problem for hotels whilst doing the market research, which we're continually doing now to say, where's the biggest kind of crossover, who's tackling the same stuff, and where are there enough businesses that we can make a big impact by doing it. So yeah, it's kind of ongoing, but there are definitely some which we mentioned, like, the events industry is potentially a really big one for us next.
I'll be curious to see because I mean, part of narrowing down your ideal client is just figuring out what messaging is the most effective with them, and that involves a lot of testing. So it's like once you get that cornered and it's working, it's like how much is that going to need to change for a different industry, or is it going to be like pretty close? I'll be interested to know how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's an interesting challenge when you're bringing people along, either new businesses or, investors, which is going to be important for us at some point as well. Making it clear that you do have that focus on an initial, market segment, and you're really, really going to work with them for the first part of your journey, but that also this is something really scalable, and that's what we're excited
Yeah.
about. We're not just building a tool for. We think that the whole service economy could eventually benefit from this type of go-to platform, because for us we can scale in three different directions really. One of them is in terms of business types, so we said from hotels out to restaurants, events, etc. Another one is geographies. We've started out with a little bit of a UK focus for obvious reasons, but we've already got hotel users in places like, Switzerland and France and elsewhere. And we know there's going to be opportunities in different markets. And finally, it's in terms of problem areas. So initially, and if anyone goes to the platform, they'll see that all of the different solutions are mainly linked to getting rid of single-use disposable stuff. But the same concept could be applied to energy-intensive appliances, water-intensive appliances, e-waste, textiles. There's a lot out there that you can go and find better ways of doing things for.
Absolutely. I was going to say I could hook you guys up with a few really cool companies I've talked to so far just about building
Yes, please.
efficiency and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So there's lots to be done.
So what are you the most excited about this stage? I mean, it's a lot of work. There's only three of you. That sounds very intense. But like what keeps you going?
Yeah, I think honestly, what we're really excited about at the moment is thankfully, we've had a huge amount of early support, I think more than I was expecting. I mean, people often say that, and again, it's we're three first-time founders. Again, we're experienced, but it's the first time we've gone on a journey as founders. And as somewhat outsiders, you think, are people going to like this? Are they going to like what we're doing? But it turns out that some people with, a fair amount of say and experience are kind of coming with us and being early supporters. And I think that kind of really gets us very excited. And I think it's as we've been building the product, I mentioned earlier that discovery process. So going through that with hotels, I'll give you an example as well. We have one, we call them a design partner. So it's a big resort in Wales called Bluestone. They're large, they have almost 1,000 employees. I mean, we meet with them every week and help them problem solve, and they help us build the right product. And it's this brilliant, brilliant relationship that actually kind of just inspires you to go and
That is
do
pretty amazing,
something,
actually.
yeah, really good for the sector. And I think we realized at a certain point that that doesn't always happen like that, that you get early companies who say, this is cool, we'll we'll help you build it
Talk to
because
us
it's
in 2
important. Because
years
it's
when you're.
important. Yeah, often
Yeah.
it's that. It's talk to us in two
Yes.
years rather than, okay, let's meet every week
It's like,
to do it.
let's every week. I mean, that's honestly impressive. So
Yeah.
that kind of validates your model and your mission for sure.
Yeah, I hope so. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be it's going to get really hard now. I think often once you've gone through that discovery process and you've got something out there, that's when typically there's lots of pressure to scale faster, and there'll be
Yeah.
plenty of bumps and challenges to come. So we're clear on that. But that early support has really kind of got the fire in our bellies for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, well, is there anything else you'd like to highlight before we wrap this up? We've learned a lot.
No, I don't think so. Just to say thank you so much. It's yeah, really good to have a chat about this stuff. And yeah, for anybody who is interested in, who's listening to this, connecting with me, we're really open. We're happy to have a chat to anybody. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Is there like what's the best way to reach you?
Best way to do it is probably via LinkedIn. So you can find us on replacer.com. But yeah, I'm Ed Perryman on LinkedIn, so fairly active on there and always happy to get a message.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks so much. And again, it's inspirational what you're doing, and I find it really empowering and hopeful that there's so many other companies too that are just making a huge impact and getting started and solving these problems. So thank you for all your hard work.
100%. Thank you, Megan, for having us.
Yeah. Okay, my pleasure.
Thanks again to Ed for sharing such a transparent and energizing look behind the scenes of Replacer. It's clear this team isn't just building another sustainability platform, they're building a movement. If you want to learn more or explore what eco actions your business could take, visit replacer.com or reach out to Ed directly on LinkedIn. He's always open to connecting. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with a fellow changemaker. Until next time.